It's only fitting that one of the most electrifying players in the league had one of the most electrifying performances of the season. Despite losing this game to Portland in early January, Trae Young had an incredible performance. Not only was this one of the best performances of the season, his best performance of his NBA career so far, but also one of the most impressive performances I have ever seen from a point guard. And I will be breaking down this game because it's definitely worth talking about. And I hate doing this, it's my least favorite part of every video I make, but if you're new and you like basketball, I really think you love this channel. Haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos that are breaking down the film of NBA players, whether that be a single game, over the course of a stretch of the season, or a full season in general, both historically, present, and future. So if that interests you, I would highly recommend staying around and subscribing and watching more content. If you want more consistent talk show style stuff from me, go subscribe to my main channel. Link to that channel will be in the description below as always. That being said, let's break down this game of Trae Young. Trae Young had 56 points, 4 rebounds, 14 assists on 65.4, 58.3, 100 shooting splits. He took 15 free throw attempts and 12 3-point attempts in this game. Trae Young shot 7 of 12 from 3 in this game, and he took a lot of deep 3-pointers in this game, which is pretty on brand for him given his usual 3-point shot distance. Only 5 of his 12 3-point attempts in this game were within 30 feet, which is less than 50% of those attempts, and only 2 of his 7 3-point makes were within 30 feet of this game. One thing I found interesting is that all of his 3-point misses were with around enough time on the shot clock to find a better look for the most part. However, one of those misses was a block by Larry Nance Jr., and that felt more like really good defense from a really good defender more than anything. Trae Young did a lot of good stuff on that play, it's just that Larry Nance is a very good defender. His 3-point makes were also very on brand for him. He had a lot of deep pull-ups, 1 catch and shoot, a step back, and while his final 2 shots of the game weren't shots that really mattered because I felt like the game was pretty out of reach at that point, one of them was a tough fadeaway and the other was a deep contested shot with 2 defenders on him, which were difficult attempts no matter how you twist it, and he made it look easy. Overall, I felt like this was one of the most on-brand 3-point shooting performances I have ever seen from Trae. His makes were mostly difficult shots that he made look easy because difficult shot makers make difficult shots look easy, and he's one of the best in the business at it. And his misses were shots I felt like he forced, which he has a habit of doing because he seems to want to show everyone the fact that he has range like that. And that can be to his benefit sometimes, but that could also lead to some problems with him at times. And at times, it felt like it did lead to some problems, but for the most part, it feels more like a nitpick considering how good he was from 3 in this game. Trae Young also took 14 shots within the arc in this game, and made 10 of those 14 shots. Only 4 of his 14 shots were outside of 10 feet from 2-point range, and only 2 of his 10 makes were outside of 10 feet. One of those shots was actually a very long 2-pointer that would have been a 3-pointer if his foot wasn't on the line, and he had a nice little pull-up jumper as well, but most of his scoring inside the arc was floaters and layups, which again is very on brand for Trae Young. And the misses really didn't show me much either, I'll be quite honest with you. And again, it just felt like this is what Trae Young does. Floaters, layups, and occasionally hitting a mid-range every once in a while. And he was actually very efficient from that range in this game. If you couldn't tell by the title of the video or the fact that I mentioned it multiple times throughout this video already, this was a very on-brand scoring performance from Trae Young overall. He was hitting tough pull-up threes, making layups and floaters. On top of that, he got to the free throw line a lot, 15 free throw attempts in this game because he draws fouls a lot because that's a big part of his game. And there's just something about watching a player who dominates the game like Trae Young does that intrigues me, and it does with all small guards. He's the smallest dude on the court whenever he plays for the most part, and he's almost always the most dominant player on the court. Outside of times he plays Milwaukee or Denver, any of those teams that have one of those top guys in the league. And this performance is a great example of just how dominant of a player he is, despite the fact that he's only 6 feet tall and 160 pounds. But it was about more than just the scoring. I think it's well known at this point that Trae Young is one of the best passers in the league. Easily top 10. I would say he's one of the 5 best passers in the league for a multitude of reasons. And this game showed that as well. You can look at the fact that he had 14 assists in this game and call it a day, and yeah, I wouldn't blame you if you did that. But I looked at how he got these assists, and the first thing that stood out to me is all 14 of these assists came within the first 3 quarters of the game. He did not have assists in the 4th quarter of the game, and I think that's really impressive to have 14 assists in 3 quarters. And it shows me, when looking at these assists, how he uses and manipulates his scoring gravity to his advantage. It's a skill that separates the best passers in the league from everyone else. And it really goes to show you just how important scoring can be when it comes to being a passer, as weird as that may sound. He had some bad passes that led to some transition looks, but for the most part, I felt like his passing performance was almost as impressive as his scoring performance. He was finding guys for lobs, finding open players, and again, just using the gravity and manipulating the gravity he has as a scorer to his advantage to create easy looks for his teammates, use some ball fakes, use some head passes, things like that. So, I was just very impressed by Trae Young's passing, and it's something you see night in and night out with him, regardless of how he's scoring. This is not only one of my favorite performances I've ever seen, but it's also one of the best performances I've ever seen. And you might be wondering how I can say something like this when his team did lose this game to a Portland team that is already in shambles and was in shambles at the time of this game. But to be quite honest with you, I think it's very clear that he was far from the reason his team lost. He was a plus 10 in this game. And I know that plus minus can be a fluky stat, but when you have 56 points, 14 assists, in a 5-point loss, and you're as efficient as he is in this game, and you're a plus 10 in the box score plus minus, then it's pretty clear that you aren't the reason your team lost, and you had a very positive impact in this game. I don't think the result of a game should change how a player's performance should be viewed, especially when it's as absurd statistically and they clearly have a positive impact. Trae Young was historically great in this game. His 14 assists are the second most by a player to score at least 50 points and the most by a player to score at least 55 points in a game. Do you know how many players in the league have scored 50 points and scored 55 points in a game? It's a lot of all-time greats, some random players here and there, but the fact that he had that many assists on top of his scoring is absurd. And just watching him play in that game, it's something special. I don't know if I'll ever see anything like it again. And it just goes to show how unique Trae Young is as a basketball player. To be that small, to be that dominant, it's rare. And I don't think there's going to be a prospect like Trae Young in the near future. And I truly think this is a performance that goes to show you that Trae Young is a one-of-one talent. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. Leave down in the comment section below a player that maybe you want to see me make a video on this channel about. It can be past, it could be even present. I'm open to do a video about many players, so leave some suggestions in the comment section below. I would really appreciate that. Again, if you want more consistent basketball content from me, go subscribe to my main channel. I'll put the link to that channel in the description below and in the pinned comment. It's not as in-depth breaking down film. In fact, I don't use any game footage in those videos, but I do feel like I show more personality in those videos, so if you want to see that side of my content creating, go subscribe over there. But with that being said, have a nice day.